time. We're just waiting on some technical difficulties here to get started.
Everybody likes the cooler temperatures? Brought to you by Washington County, Greater Zion, and Chamber of Commerce. And viewers like you.
Hey, Andy, what's the name of the team? Rebel Elite?
Yeah. 2000. Why 2009? I read the history. Why do they ascribe a certain year? That's because I saw some of the boys' teams where that was like a 2008, 2003. Yeah.
You all born 2009?
Yeah.
I think the suit was born in 2009. I don't know, but could have been.
Well, I think as of note, I was on some county assignments yesterday, and I chose to go by Quail Creek Reservoir, and then it took me over by Sand Hollow, and I want you to know that the water managers from the water district have kept those nearly full. Has a lot to do with the fact winter helped fill them, but then usually because we can't store, once the runoff is gone, it's gone. You know, we can't continue to store water that doesn't necessarily flow out of our mountains, but they're nearly full. And most normally, as a boater and recreation enthusiast on both of those reservoirs, by this time they're down 20, 25 feet because we're drinking it, right? But the combined efforts of those who've conserved, as well as the district's desire to maintain their elevation for recreation purposes, both reservoirs are nearly full. And that doesn't mean go out and waste a bunch of water. What that means is we should be very grateful that we can retain that and that we have done so. So my kudos. I called Zach Renstrom, who's the director, and I didn't know that he was on family vacation in Italy, so he answered the phone at 2 a.m. and was very committed to answering, but I congratulated on their ability to keep those reservoirs full.
Just shows how important Commissioner Almquist is. All right. Thank you for your patience while we got some of those technical difficulties started or worked out. We're going to start our commission meeting today with an invocation by Rabbi Mendy Cohen of the Shabbat Jewish Center of Southern Utah. Rabbi.
Facing you or facing the crowd?
Us.
Okay. Thank you. Honorable lawmakers, ladies and gentlemen, please join me for a moment of prayer and reflection. Hanaisein Teshua LaMelachim, Malchuscha Malchus Kol Olamim. He who is on high, whose kingdom is an eternal one, grants dominion to rulers. It is your blessing that we seek today as we open the session. The members of this honorable chamber are gathered here today to fulfill one of the 7 universal laws for all mankind, namely the commandment to govern by just laws. These laws are known as the 7 Noahide laws. These laws are to serve you alone and not to serve idols, not to curse in your holy name, not to murder, not to commit adultery, not to steal, not to be cruel to any living creature, and to govern every society by just laws. My mentor and spiritual leader, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, of blessed memory, explained that these laws are the basis of the recognition that you, O God, are the ultimate ruler of all people and all nations. Avinu Shabashamayim, our Father in heaven. May their sacrifices for the common good find favor in your eyes. May you bestow upon them your great blessing of unity, success, and clarity. We beseech your blessing, O God, that their efforts for our fellow citizens and our county meet with success. May they contribute to the ultimate betterment of man and to the ultimate betterment of our one nation under you and your 7 universal laws for all people. Almighty God, Master of the universe, may they always remember their highest calling, the mission to make this world a better place. May your will be evident in their every decision. Let us say amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rabbi, and part of the Interfaith Council, so we appreciate that. We'll now have a Pledge of Allegiance led by Sergeant Pat Lisi, retired U.S. Marine Corps and a Vietnam War veteran. Sergeant.
Thank you. If able, please stand and face the American flag and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Enjoy the
Sergeant.
meeting.
And thank you for your service, as always. The first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a means of expediting the consideration of routine matters. If a commissioner requests that items be removed from the consent agenda, those items are placed at the beginning of the regular agenda. Other than requests to remove items, a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda is not debatable.
Mr. Chairman, my motion for the consent agenda is as follows. Item A, consideration of auditor-approved claims for payment for July 19th, 2023 through August 1st, 2023. Item B, consideration of regular commission meeting minutes of July 18th, 2023. Item C, consideration of administrative adjustments for real property. Item D, consideration of administrative adjustments for personal property. Item E, acknowledgement of publishing the notice of adoption of ordinance number 2023-1235-0, published on Thursday, July 6th, 2023. And item E, which I think that EF, and there's 2 E's, consideration of amendment to the settlement agreement between the Howards and Washington County regarding the Silver Valley Road damage. That is my motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that motion on the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. First item on our regular agenda item is a presentation from regarding Liberty Week. And we'll invite Dennis Levitt from United We Pledge to come forward.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I appreciate your time. I have just a handout. Can I present to you?
Yes.
For your
Thank you.
So as you're aware, Liberty Week is an annual event that helps us remember the purpose of Independence Day and the celebrations that we have regarding this nation and the founding of this nation. We appreciate the county's support in every way and asking us as United We Pledge to partner with you in supporting this annual event that's titled Liberty Week. You know, we had dozens of events during the course of that week with over 33,000 people attending events, celebrating and educating the community about the importance of the Declaration of Independence. We were invited to have an exhibit here in the building. We appreciate that. And the exhibit had over 13,000 guests that learned about our nation's history. They came from all over the country. Actually, you can see the statistics on that report, that of the 13,000 guests, there were almost 30% of them from outside the state of Utah. They represented every state in the union, and they represented many countries from around the nation. So we felt like the promotion and the success of Liberty Week and helping people understand the Declaration of Independence was legitimate and real. We also had a couple of thousand people that attended the Prayer for Freedom at Tuacahn. We had thousands of people at other events throughout the week, and so again, we appreciate your support. We did award to the county over 100 tickets approximately for the exhibit that was here. That was free. That award was free to you, and you could use those tickets as you saw fit and wanted to use in order to help people experience the exhibit. The economic impact of Liberty Week would have been well over $1 million in really conservative estimates, but it was a tremendous success. We'll continue to do all that we can to help promote the Declaration of Independence during the month of July moving forward. I also received your letter asking as commissioners if we would partner with Washington County in the celebration of Constitution Month during the month of September. I know Governor Cox is making a proclamation on August 31st to ensure that in the state of Utah, September is always recognized as Founders and Constitution Month. We appreciate that offer to partner with you. We'll do all that we can to make that a tremendous success. We want to do everything we can to help youth. We don't help youth play soccer very well, but we help youth love this nation very well and do everything they can to appreciate it. So again, a tremendous success. Thanks to you for everything. Is there anything we could answer that you'd like to know?
We appreciate it. We appreciated the award of the tickets to our employees and however the invitation to the fundraiser for the commissioners and the county administrator that you awarded as well, that that we could help support this, and really we think that this is part of our core function as elected officials to educate the public and the up and coming generation to the documents, the blueprints of liberty, as we call this exhibit, what founded America, and the principles that govern the decisions that we make at this table here today, and throughout our service to the people of Washington County and in the state and in the nation as a whole. So it was a wonderful partnership. Thank you for everything that you did to help pull this off, and to your team. I know it was more than just you. I thought it was a fantastic week, and have only heard amazing things from all of the residents of Washington County who got to come and participate. And that's why we said, we want to do this again for Constitution Month, not just Constitution Week, but, and there's nobody better for us to partner with. So that's why we want to invite you back to, if you'd have us to help us pull this off again.
Oh, thank you so much. And again, we did want the invitations to go out to that reception that was held to recognize you for all the good that you've done and the support that you're
It really
providing.
was a
the community.
fantastic week, and just kind of watching all of the visitors as they came in, the energy, the patriotism, and just, it really did just, it was exciting. And just watching all of you work so hard. And there were some exciting announcements and things done during that week that I think we're going to continue to celebrate. And so just
Yeah,
fantastic.
I'm not sure how much everyone's aware of the announcements that were made, but we made a great partnership deal with Angel Studios with a gentleman named John Irwin to do a Founders Series movie, and not only a feature film, but also a television series. There's a lot of really good momentum going in order to help us remember our history and remember where we came from. The proceeds from what we did are going towards Liberty Village, of course, which is going to be a crown jewel, we think, here in the county, and will help educate generations of youth to come. So thank you.
Dennis, you know that behind you are the preambles to the Utah Constitution as well as the U.S. Constitution, and in a very unique way, because we've said we're going to lead out on and partner with those who are willing to help us to not only support Washington County as America's county, but do the things that we hope others would do. So you've expressed a fairly unique thing that we think should be in this chamber when you do it. Maybe you could explain a little bit, if you want to, about your idea.
Yeah, we, for Constitution Month, we want to have the first time in U.S. history an entire county of school children coming together to read the Constitution. It's been tried and done in a couple of other cities here or there, but Constitution Day is September 17th, of course. It's a day that we all ought to remember the Constitution. That happens to fall on a Sunday this year. So our idea is to bring in school children from elementary, junior high, high school, as well as home and private schools to come in and participate in a reading of the Constitution on that Friday preceding Constitution Day. We'll let it be live streamed throughout the county so that all of the students can understand it. But if we don't ever read our Constitution or know about it, learn about it, then we think that that's a disservice. So that's one of the events for Constitution Week, as well as some other events that are planned to help, or Constitution Month, as well as some other events to help us all remember that document.
And I think it'd be valuable, sorry, Chair, but I think it'd be valuable not only that we read the Constitution, I think that's amazing, but if it's not too much effort, we should also read the names of those who signed it, because they did pledge so much. Not only those that signed the Declaration of Independence, that was their death warrant if the revolution hadn't turned out to our, favor
That's
of
right.
liberty. But those that then finalized the Constitution as a document that has survived, I think their names should be heard.
No, I love that suggestion, and we're open to all suggestions. What we're doing for the community and for the county and for the nation as a whole. And we know we don't have all the answers, but we love to partner with and have support of others who can help us
Great.
improve what we're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dennis.
Item number 2 on our agenda is the recognition of the Rebel Elite Soccer team that has now made me feel really old. Andy, why don't you come up and tell us what this team has done?
Hey, thanks for having us. My name's Andy Jurgensen. I'm an assistant coach for Rebel Elite 2009 girls. We had something really cool happen a few weeks ago. We got to, first of all, about a month ago, we went to regionals in Boise, Idaho, and we ended up winning a regional championship there that then qualified us to go to nationals in Wichita, Kansas. We went to Wichita, Kansas a couple weeks ago as kind of a big underdog. No team from Southern Utah no girls team from Southern Utah had ever won. So we went just expecting to have some fun, and we ended up having a whole lot more fun than we thought and won the championship. If it's all right, I'd like to have the girls come up and
Please.
tell you their name, tell you the position they play, and come stand up here. So come on up, girls. This team is 13 and 14-year-old girls throughout Southern Utah. So tell us your name and position you play, and then come stand up here, okay? You just tell us your name and position you play. You can do it.
Hello, my name is Jada Lofipo, and I play everywhere.
All right.
Hi, I'm Kayla Parrish. I play midfield. I'm Chloe Morris. I play midfield. I'm Hadley Phillips. I also play midfield. I'm Kylie Alexander. I play defense. I'm Anna Taylor, and I play midfield and defense. My name is Brinley Steer, and I play wing and midfield.
I'm Kate Dunkley, and I play wing.
I'm Pickles Hinton, and I play defense.
I'm Kennedy Jurgensen, and I play goalie in midfield.
Goalie.
So I forgot to mention the head coach is Holly Jurgensen, and I have another assistant coach over here, Anthony Morris, who's hiding out over here to the side. But one of the things that's really cool about our community that I wanted to make sure and mention is it took a lot of fundraising. The girls did car washes and went out and tried to sell little swig cards and fizz cards, but without the great support of our businesses and our community here, there's no way we could have got to Boise, and maybe we would have piled into a 12-passenger van and cramped in, but we were able to fly as a team and go travel, and a lot of that, it's just good work from our community businesses and families that helped send us there, like Balance of Nature and McDonald's, NAI Real Estate. I could just go on and on, but a lot of good companies and local businesses stepped up and helped to get us there. So anyways, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to recognize us.
Absolutely.
And
Congratulations.
Can we get a picture?
as they're walking out, I was able to watch the video of some of the goals that they scored, and when they kicked a final and decisive goal, I don't think they even knew what had happened immediately. You can see in the video, it's kind of like, okay, that was great, a goal. Oh, you mean we won? And it was really quite exciting, but that's unique because they had teams that were going away saying, wait a minute, we always win. And what, this girls team from Southern Utah? And so it's really quite a landmark event, and they have team members from every community, and I think one team member is also from Cedar City. So we can celebrate that great success that they had in character building amongst them.
Yeah, when-
Most are from Washington County?
Most
Oh,
Washington
there we
County.
go, okay.
When Andy was telling the story, how they just, you know, they were excited to finally make nationals, but they just were going back to have a good time.
Yeah.
And kind of get the experience, and then they go back and take the whole championship. That's a great story. That's just
Awesome.
fantastic.
Awesome. Congratulations again. All right, next item is an Employee Longevity Award. Ryan Vincent, who's been here for 15 years. Josh, you gonna come up and tell us about why Ryan is so awesome?
So my name is Josh Wadsworth, and I've had the privilege of being a supervisor to Ryan for years now. And he has been a great asset to our office and to the county in general. Ryan currently holds a certified residential license from the Division of Real Estate, which is no small feat, but he's also working on his certified general, which is like the highest license you can have to appraise any real estate, including commercial. And he's really close to being able to obtain that, which is significant. But he's loyal, he's easy to get along with, and a great asset to the county. We're grateful to have him. So that's how awesome he is.
I think it's great how the assessor's office in particular, when somebody's getting a longevity award, they all show up, just like a family to
Yep.
take pictures and celebrate.
Tom, you got half your office here today.
Yeah, that's great.
Well done, Ryan. Thank you for
Thank you.
being a great asset for Washington County. And if we've got a little something for you here. All right, on to the next item on the agenda is consideration of purchase requests. Ray,
Okay. The first one I have here is for some rocks and cinder, kind of gravelish type for the shooting sports park, specifically for the Red Cliffs Rifle Venue. This is for $11,590. Next one I have is for outdoor wireless for the Legacy Park. This is for $11,865.86. The next one is for emergency services. We received a fire grant from the state, and the grant covers fire shelters, so that's what this is for. There's two different sizes, some smaller ones, some regular size ones, and some larger ones. This is for $12,768.32. And the final one is for court support services. This is a replacement for their case management software. They've outgrown the current program, and this will allow us to get caught up and grow in the future. And unless there's any questions, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the purchase request that Ray has presented to us.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion
Thank you.
passes. And we say this every time, but these were budgeted already, but because they're over the limit, they have to be presented and voted on in a public meeting. Item number 5 is consideration of a resolution number R 2023-3158, a resolution approving a Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant Agreement for funding Phase 2 of the Spring Hollow Trail System. Leslie Fong.
Hello, Commissioners. So this is the contract with the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation, as they awarded us grant money in the amount of about $550,000 to continue work on the mountain bike trails east of Diamond Valley. So we're really excited about that.
So Leslie, where are we? I know that we had started on it, and there had been a little bit of a disruption, I guess, with the contractor not quite working out. And so we brought on another contractor. So is the first phase closer to done? Have they been working on it throughout the summer?
The first phase is closer done. This Phase 2, with this agreement, encompasses everything that wasn't done in the first phase and moves us forward for what was originally the second phase. And then it gives us the money to continue contract work.
And so how many miles of trail would this represent?
Right now, the current assessments look like about 6 good miles, which was a lot of work. And then within Phase 2 are its additional 15 or so miles, plus trailhead, event areas, and dispersed camping areas.
So this will include some of the trailhead, bathroom, type of
Yes.
stuff that you need, so, okay,
So
very good.
we're really excited to get going on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
that'll
you.
be a great asset.
It really will.
With that in mind, I will make a resolution, or a motion to approve a resolution number R 2023-3158, a resolution approving a Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant Agreement for funding of Phase 2 of the Spring Hollow Trail System.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Leslie.
Thanks, Leslie.
Item number 6 is consideration of resolution R 2023-3159, a resolution approving a comment letter in support of the BLM's proposed withdrawal of certain land from BLM management. Devin Snow.
Yes, Commissioners, in Washington County, the federal government owns and manages about 75% of the land in the county. BLM is proposing to give about 15,000 acres to Sitla, as part of a land exchange, and so this resolution would express the county's support for bringing that acreage out of federal management.
Okay.
Very good.
Transferring BLM land to state school trust land. Anybody want to do anything with that?
Oh, yeah, well,
Just want to sit here?
I guess I did have one question, just, is this a part of the Dingle Act, the Bears Ears Exchange, or is this a different?
This is different. It's a statewide exchange between Sitla and BLM. It's about 170,000 acres total. This acreage would be, there's some up around looks like the Enterprise Reservoir, and some just south of the airport. So just a little bit here and there in our county.
Very good. Well, Mr. Chairman, with that, I really would like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution R-2023-3159, a resolution approving a commitment letter in support of the BLM's proposed withdrawal of certain land from the BLM management. That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Anytime we can get less federal land in Washington County is a good thing.
It is.
Item number 6 is consideration of resolution nope, that's the same one. Item number 7 is consideration of resolution R 2023-3160, a resolution approving the communication franchise agreement between Washington County, Utah, and Beehive Telephone Company Incorporated. Devin again.
Yes, this is a franchise agreement with Beehive Broadband, and Jessica, I believe that Mr. Francis is on the line on Zoom. I don't know if you have the capability to have him join, but while she's working on getting him on the line, I think he's joined by a phone. This franchise agreement is a 10-year agreement that allows this phone and broadband company to use county right-of-way to get service up to Kolob. As part of that agreement, they provide the service, but they also have committed to the county to fix, if they disturb a roadway, they'll fix the road. That way the public access is not disturbed. The franchisee, so Beehive has made a couple of requests that we can talk about, and do we have Mr. Francis on the line?
I'm here if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, like an angel above.
Okay, terrific, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Mr. Snow, did you want me to tell a little more about the project?
Yeah, sorry, we can't hear you very well, so we're gonna work on trying to boost that volume.
Try to speak
Okay.
louder.
Yeah, and if you could speak a little louder, that would help. And then, yeah, if you could just speak briefly about the project, and then you had two requests that maybe we could discuss after you've talked about the project in general.
Okay. I hope you can hear me. Thanks for allowing me to join remotely. I appreciate that. I'm away at an industry conference, otherwise I'd be happy to be there in person. Beehive Broadband is a company that's been around for 60 years. We specialize in serving remote rural communities in Utah and Nevada. We serve approximately 70 communities, both rural and urban, in those two states. We are based in Tooele County in Lake Point, Utah. We have plans to bring fast fiber-based internet to the Kolob area, specifically Kolob Reservoir, and the cabins and seasonal homes that are in that area. We are helped in doing that by receiving a federal rural utilities service grant that helps us come in. One of the questions that came up is, what's our route? We're coming in from the north, and so we won't be crossing the national park, thankfully. That's a lot of red tape. But we're coming in from the north. We're very happy to be there. This franchise agreement allows us to use some of the county's right-of-way in those rural areas along Kolob Road. As they say in our business, we're planning on passing about 200 seasonal homes in the area. I know there may be a couple of year-rounders that live there. We expect probably to get about somewhere between maybe 60 or 70 subscribers through this build, and are happy to be there and to provide these modern facilities to such a remote and rugged rural location.
Very good.
So, Victoria Hales, my colleague in the attorney's office, has prepared a franchise agreement. Mr. Francis has reviewed it and is fine. There are two requests that he's made for changes to the draft we could kind of talk through. The first one has to do with the security for when they go through and do maintenance. Right now, the draft requires both a letter of credit and a bond. And as I understand it, Mr. Francis would like to provide only a letter of credit instead of the bond. A bond is more expensive. The bottom line is the bond would provide more security to the county in the event, let's say they go through and they maintain in year 2, they disturb the roadway, then somehow the company goes belly up. If we have a bond in that instance, we can call upon that bond. We issue a claim to a surety. The surety steps in and does all the work for us, right? That's the benefit of a bond. A letter of credit is a little bit different. Again, if the company does work, disturbs a road, and they go belly up, a letter of credit, we'd be in the position of asking for one. Number 2, could they get one from a bank? That would be difficult if they've gone belly up. But even if they could, we would have to use those funds. We'd have to find a contractor and do the work ourselves. So it's just, they're asking to provide a little bit less security, but again, you could take into account they've been in business for, I think you mentioned 50 years. I mean, these are all relevant factors for you to think through, but the bottom line is they would like to provide somewhat lesser security, but it is security, but it's not as good as bond security. Do you have any thoughts or questions about that, commissioners?
Well, I think I'd understand why in a franchise agreement inside of a city, you'd want a bond because, you have so much, you have streets and a lot more infrastructure.
Other utilities.
This area is quite rugged, is quite remote. For the most part, there won't be a paved road. There would be one part. So So I think for the most part, this is a different animal than for example, inside of a city limit or a community. So I'd appreciate, or I understand why, you know, they would like to just go with a letter of credit because frankly, you know, bonds they're kind of their own animal. They take a little bit of work. So I think I'm comfortable with the idea that Beehive has been in business for 50 years. They are going into a unique and remote neighborhood, if you will. And it will be an investment into Kolob that frankly I think will be very helpful. Now, if we could just get them to go to a cell tower so that we actually have cell service up there, that might be another conversation. But I think I'm comfortable with the letter of credit.
You know, I know the area. Ron is sitting here over our public works, and he works on the roads up there all the time. If they're staying in the shoulder, and I guess if they're settling, that could be handled, but long term, there's probably not a big concern with them disturbing our roadway, even with maintenance, since it is a buried line. I get it, but come to the mic and just express your opinion on the level of repair or burden that there might be, since that's the focus of this debate.
There is not as many utilities in this road as we would have in roads down here in town or in lower areas, but there are water lines that serve many of the residents up there. There is other communication lines that even Beehive has some, and we have drainage facilities up there too. And we have had these companies go through and rip through our culverts rather than take the time to go under them or around them. And my preference would be to have the bond in place. It's much easier to deal with if we have to go in and pull it.
A bond of this size, commissioners, would be between $1,200 and $2,500 a year. So it's an expense, but it's not crippling.
Okay. How often do you think that happens, Ron? Somebody rips through it and saying the damages we have to come up and take care of.
We would be there to try and inspect it, but we don't always know when they're working on it. I don't know how often it happens. Not very often. It depends on the contractors putting it in. We've had fiber companies put in their own lines, and it was cost-saving deal for them to rip through the culverts rather than go underneath them like they should have. And then they never bothered to tell us the culverts were damaged. And we found out the next time it flooded and went out to the bottom of the culverts and washed out our roads. But it's not very often. It's not anything, you know, I think they ever plan on doing, but sometimes it happens.
Devin, what would be the recourse if there is no bond, the company hasn't gone belly up, and let's just say, I'm just saying in worst case scenario here, right?
Right,
And they damage something, what are we supposed to do? Say, please?
Right, we would start with a friendly letter that says, please fix the damage. If it wasn't fixed at that point, we would file an action to force them to fix the damage, or we would get monetary damages to make that repair. It's not complicated. If they're functioning and operating, it's not too difficult. It's more difficult if they've gone out of business and there's nothing to recover against.
I mean, that's my argument, is unless they're gonna go out of business, which I don't think they are, then normally we would have to file some sort of action usually to collect from the bond as well, so.
Well, the bond, it is more expensive, but there are better protections for you. For example, if you have a bond, all you do is submit a claim to a surety. They investigate. If they do determine that there is a breach, the surety takes the laboring oar. They figure out, they make sure it's fixed. They hire a contractor if necessary to get it done. Over here on the letter of credit side, you get cash, or if we sue, we get cash, but you're also, you've got to hire your contractor. You've got to go through the burden of fixing up the mess. And so they're different, but a bond is definitely more protection to you, but a letter of credit is a measure of protection to you.
The bond only in place while they're doing the construction?
Both. So they'll have a sizable bond in place during the construction that covers construction activities.
Council or commissioners, I'm happy to answer any additional questions you have. I see some of you looking at the ceiling. Sorry, my voice comes from above like this. There are multiple protections built into the franchise agreement, including a very large construction bond. So anything that is disturbed during the process of construction, I believe the bond in that case is in the neighborhood of $2.2 million that protects the county for all construction activities that we are undergoing. So there are other protections within the franchise agreement that I think are quite substantial.
Thank you.
The construction bond is all I was concerned about.
Yeah.
If that's in place, it'll be Devin doing the work instead of us if something goes wrong. So
Well, and
thank you.
I think,
Thank you, Ron.
I think we're clear that the construction bond, which is
And the most damage could happen.
is when this is likely to happen, because they're going somewhat blind, even though they have blue stakes and they can be off. But you're talking about maintenance going forward in the future.
Correct.
Yeah, I think the letter of credit works in such a remote area. Once they've already done the field work, they might actually tell us where some of our, others' lines are, including their own. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Is that a motion?
So actually, Commissioners, so there are two requests. So you've worked through the one request on security. There was another request, and it has to do with the threshold. So just a little background on the way this agreement was drafted. Given that there's so few potential customers up there, there is no monthly service charge to the franchisee. But what the agreement says right now is if they get up to 200 subscribers, that would trigger a renegotiation with the county, and we can talk through a potential franchise fee. The idea is because, again, it's such a small number, it makes sense to just allow them to use the right of way as long as they commit to repair the roads and so on. But if they're serving a lot of people, then it would make more sense to have the county getting a franchise fee. And so that threshold, what would trigger that renegotiation is if they get to 200 subscribers or more. And I understand Mr. Francis would like to move that to 400. And that's completely within your discretion in terms of where you set that. You could keep it as it's drafted at 200. You could bump that up to 400. That way, if there's a lot of interest, they grow, they're not coming back to you in 5 years. Totally up to you.
And there's 50 to 70 homes up there now, potential subscribers.
I think that's their anticipated or their estimated interest number, yeah.
Yeah, 400 seems like a long ways off.
Mhm.
But-
Really long ways off.
Yeah.
But and I know it sounds like I'm making arguments for the company, but just, I think that this is almost a community service up there in the fact that it's so remote and it is going to take a lot for them to get those lines out to those different homes. But I think it does provide, we've talked about emergency services up there and just how communication needs to be improved some way, somehow. So if they can help by putting the infrastructure in, I think there is some benefit back to the county and to that area, just because when you start thinking about winter weather and whatnot, and this wouldn't have helped, but there's been some people that just by their chinny chin chin, they've survived. Somebody found them up there, before they were stuck in the snow too long, so.
But that would still be in place though,
Yeah.
even under 200, they'd still be providing the community service. I agree with you on the benefit. I'm just saying that the franchise agreement at 200, you're almost tripling or quadrupling the number of homes that are up there now. I don't know that the Army Corps of Engineers will ever allow
Yeah.
400 homes up there because of this proximity to Zion National Park in the Narrows. So,
All right.
I don't know about that. I love the 400, but I agree, fully agree, and I want them to come in on the community service side, and that's why I think I'm okay not requiring the bond, just because I want them to come in and help provide the service to the community.
Anything else, Devin? Those two
Nope, those are
items?
the 2 points. So security and the threshold. So if you could, in your motion, just direct legal counsel to carry out whatever your motion says.
Why don't we
How
set
how
it
many
at 300?
billable hours do you think that'll? Mr. Chair, I'm willing to make a motion, item number 7, that we approve resolution number R 2023-3160, a resolution approving the communication franchise agreement between Washington County, Utah and Beehive Telephone Company with these 2 additions. One, that under the security agreement for future maintenance and required construction there tied thereto, that there be a letter of credit established to the liking and wording of our legal department. And then the threshold discussion, I believe that the 200 subscriber level that we've asked for would be sufficient, knowing how many there are there. And plus, I did a little math. I don't know what they're going to charge, but there's going to be a tidy sum there. If they reach 400, or if they reach 200, we ought to look back at it, because there would be some benefit to the county to have a small fee, which of course can be established later. It could be minimal. It could be something that, you know, helps us to improve whatever infrastructure necessary that we would like to take advantage of, like a cell tower, right? Having said that, those are my 2 items that I'd like to add to that motion.
I'll go ahead and second that.
With a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
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 In regards to the 200, you're really only talking about triggering a discussion.
Yeah.
Correct, correct.
Yeah, it doesn't actually do anything other than to talk about it. Okay, item number 8 is consideration of resolution R 2023-3161, resolution approving leases for local congressional offices. Nicole.
Yes, so Commissioners, Senator Mike Lee and Senator Mitt Romney have local offices in Washington County, and they have a desire to move their local offices into the new county's administration building on the 3rd floor, which is currently warm shell space for future growth. It really will do a couple of things. It will make it more conveniently located, their offices, and also to allow local residents to know more of, you know, where they can be reached when they are in town. And it will help, I think, with the federal agency matters that might come where, you know, further discussion needs to be had between the county and the senators. So before you today are the 2 leases for you to consider.
Okay.
Well, very good. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution R-2023-3161, a resolution approving leases for local congressional offices.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Item number 9 is consideration of resolution R 2023-3162, a resolution approving a lease of a portion of the county boulevard building to the United States of America. Nicole again.
Okay, so this is regarding the federal courts. This has come before you several months ago, back in May of 2022. The General Services Administration issued a request for lease proposal for space that they could utilize for the United District Court for the southern region of the District of Utah. At that time, the county submitted an offer, and that did go through commission meeting, and we discussed it at that point. So the county has determined that we are willing to lease a portion of the building. And with that, obviously, will come quite a bit of remodel that will need to take place, that we've had discussions in commission meeting before about potentially bonding, wherein we've set it up so that the federal government does pay for that bond. So before you today is a resolution and lease for you to consider this this agreement and the ability for us to lease space in the Boulevard building.
Okay, thank you, Nicole.
Very good. And just for any of the public, so we have a justice court that works not only for the county, but for all of St. George City. They are currently in the building. They'll be temporarily moving into our old building while this remodel takes place.
Correct.
And then moving back onto one of the floors of the Boulevard building.
Yeah.
And that the federal lease will help pay for a remodel that the county was going to have to do anyway. So there's
Right.
some benefit for the taxpayers of the county to do this lease.
Thank you, Commissioner. If maybe I could just let the public know that we currently are, our maintenance team is actually doing just a remodel within the first floor of the administration building. And around September 1st-ish, give or take a few days, the Justice Court that is located in the Boulevard building will be moving over to the old administration building. And they will remain there. That will be their temporary housing until we are able to remodel that, at which time we will be sharing the space, or, you know, there's about 45,000 square feet, and the Justice Court will have one floor of the finished product at the Boulevard building. And I think Devin might have something you want to add on.
I do, just to note for the record that the lease refers to exhibits A through H, and so this would include each of those exhibits, including what's called the small business subcontracting plan. And Commissioners, there are a couple of items I'd like to work through on the lease terms, and so in your motion, if the motion is to approve, if you could make that subject to attorney review and approval, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Well, I expect that document to be at least 2 or 3 inches thick, since
Yeah.
we are dealing with the federal government here, so.
Mr. Chair, I'm willing to make a motion on item number 9, but I want to say that Devin and Nicole have put in a ton of hard work, because it's not only been a moving target, but it's kind of like you turn in everything and then they want something else, and you turn in that and then they want something you already turned in modified, or vice versa. I just want to congratulate Devin and Nicole for pushing this through. And also, we said that when we built this building and vacated other buildings, that they would become available as a revenue stream for other similar government type organizations that would like to occupy buildings that we had. And this income stream, as Commissioner Iverson said, helps to remodel, but we also look to a building that will be able to rent here and into the future, along with other places where we housed various functions of county government that have now moved into this building. So we're making good use of those spaces. So having said that, I move that we approve resolution number R 2023-3162, resolution approving a lease of a portion of the county Boulevard building to the United States of America. That we also recognize exhibits A through H as well as the small business plan, and then subject to attorney review and final analysis before it's submitted.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I'd also like to say, having worked for the federal government for Congress for 6 years, it's like beating your head against the wall. And so for the two of you to have gone through this with the GSA, there's a special place in heaven.
We should give them like some sort of medal.
Special place in heaven for dealing with the federal government. Item number 10, consideration of resolution number R 2023-3163, a resolution approving a contract with MRW Design for the Boulevard building improvements. This seems to be related, Nicole.
Yes, it sure does. So just to follow up with what we just spoke about, MRW Design is an architectural firm locally, and several years ago when we remodeled the exterior of the Boulevard building, they were our architect for that. They seem to know the ins and outs mainly of this building more than any other architectural firm. We also will be doing some pretty significant seismic upgrades, and they are very familiar with their engineers of what will need to take place with that. So I'm putting before you an agreement today for us to contract with them, for them to work us through this remodel that we will be doing on the Boulevard building, and really excited that they were willing to take on this project. A remodel is not an easy feat, and especially on this old of a building.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, we do appreciate our relationship with
It
them.
may be subject to attorney review as we are just finalizing their agreement as well, please.
Very good. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution R-2023-3163, a resolution approving a contract with W Design for the Boulevard building improvements, subject to legal review.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Last item on the agenda is our public comment period. We ask that you please keep your comments to the limit of, respectful of all the parties who are speaking, maximum of 2 minutes per comment. And encourage you to focus on things that the county commission has the jurisdiction over. Things that might deal with the state legislature or the federal government, we can't really do anything about. So this isn't necessarily the platform to discuss those. But if it's something that we can have something to do, or for the general public's knowledge that affects the county commission, we'd love to hear it. First one, roads. Ron Whitehead.
I can assure you this is for the general public's knowledge and well-being. I want
Do
to
we
give
have
you,
jurisdiction over this, Ron?
what's that?
Do we have jurisdiction over this?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Start with the projects we've been working on is some of our flood repairs up the Santa Clara River. We've done 2 out of the 4. We're waiting for some equipment to become available to do the last 2, to lift some big culverts and stuff in place. But the Mataqua Road is back open off the Gunlock Highway. The other access to the Mataqua Road off Highway 91 has been closed off again, so they need to go up the Gunlock Highway, go across the Santa Clara River, and then right onto the Mataqua Road. And the culverts behind Gunlock that were blocked by vegetation growing up now, didn't drain very well. The vegetation has been removed. There's still some sediment in there that we need to get in there when we can and remove that, but they'll drain much better the way that is now. And the other 2 we're waiting for General Steam Road, putting another big culvert in there, and fixing the Manganese Road where one of the culverts come undone and dropped off the end of it. So they've got that finished, but right now is our season for maintenance, big maintenance. You see big piles of gravel alongside the road or in places we normally stack our rocks, chips. And they're getting ready to start their chip seal project. So for the public out there, if they have this work going on in their areas, for this round, particularly Winchester, Diamond Valley, Silver Valley Estates, and there's some other singular roads out there too. If you can, avoid those areas. If you can go around a different route, take that route. If you have to travel through them, please go through slowly and follow the directions there so you don't mingle with our heavy equipment that's moving around, or drive through fresh tar and get the bottom of your car all black. So it's something that will start the end of the month. And
End of time?
and it will finish mid-September, so there'll be about six weeks between now and the end of that where we should be through with that.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
Next up is Wendy Godlewski. I said it right, Wendy.
Thank you. First, we call on you to vote no on putting any tax increase measures on any city ballots this year. We're a republic, not a democracy. No true leader would pass the buck and allow a small minority of citizens to vote to increase taxes on 100% of their neighbors. You were elected to make the tough budget decisions, not our unaccountable neighbors. And historically, did you know these tax measures passed 93% of the time? Since voters get tricked with half-truths and big money, whether it's emergency medical services or more parks, we elected fiscal conservatives to hold the line and make do with what you've got in our taxpayer dollars. Just as we expect you to vote no on tax increases, we also expect you to vote no on putting tax increases on our ballots. Do the right thing. Second, for over a year, we've called on you to make our elections secure and improve public trust via hand counts in our county. But we are still just as vulnerable as ever. Did you read the front page article of the New York Times this Sunday? Anybody? Chinese malware that could disrupt American military operations. This one was in CNN. China-based hackers breached U.S. government email accounts. U.S. military computer systems have been hacked for over a year, and I'm not even going to mention the SolarWinds attack. That was the breach from Russia in 2020. There are countless branches of government that have been hacked. The Department of Defense spends $10 billion a year on cybersecurity and still can't secure their joint staff internal networks. Do you expect us to believe that our elections are secure? Seriously. Not nearly every consequential private and government agency in the world has been hacked, but our elections are the one exception. On July 13th, our group, Southern Utahns for Transparency.com, invited our clerk and our commissioners to speak with national security expert Colonel Sean Smith, and none of you could join, so we sent you an audio recording on July 24th. By show of hands, have you listened in full?
Yep,
And have you answered our questions about that?
I did. I responded.
I sent you 5 questions and you replied with an unintelligible paragraph. I could not make sense of the first sentence or the last sentence, and the 2 middle sentences discounted everything that I said, and you didn't answer, primarily you did not, Gil, answer any of the 5 questions that I asked you in that email. We are waiting to hear back from Ryan, Admin, Victor. Gil, you said in your response that you're committed to the current process and those processes implemented by the legislature and the lieutenant governor's office. Well, this is unacceptable. As you know, they're doing this next Friday, August 11th, you're doing pre-election testing, and you can't, I challenge you to find one computer programmer who says that that's a valid test. They're easy to defeat. It's useless. And then as for post-election audits, you're all familiar with this. The State of Utah election system audit. And buried on page 51, our post-election audit lacks the ability to validate election results and does not confirm that the candidates with the most votes won via the election. And page 53 says this has been the case for over 15 years. If you're relying on our state legislature to fix that, well, we gave you a copy of this. It's on our website, Southern Utahns for Transparency.com. If you lost the copy we gave you, this is a list of the dozen election bills that the Utah legislature messed with this year, and they did a few minor fixes, and they did a few really bad things, and then they didn't pass one audit standard. They did nothing to end our vulnerabilities to tabulator manipulation or ballot stuffing. And so relying on current processes is not going to work. I've asked you for a meeting. I've asked you for a town hall over on elections. I've asked you for a spot on the agenda. I've asked you how can I submit a resolution. I want to know what is your plan to secure our elections. We've got a congressional election. Ballots are being mailed out in a couple of weeks. I'm anxiously awaiting a response. What is our plan to secure our elections? Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Shalyn, which I also said properly this time.
I had a neighbor, well, a best friend, whose dad never learned to say my name, so I
And I'm better
appreciate
than
that.
him.
Okay. I fear that no matter what I say today, it's going to fall on deaf ears, but so that I can respect the person looking back at me in the mirror, I'm going to keep standing up here imploring you to listen until God tells me I'm done. I've been reflecting over the past year. It's been about a year since we started coming to these meetings, and really we've made no real progress in securing our elections. Here's the list of things as I see it. 1, Commissioner Snow met with legislators to encourage them to pass some election laws. It's something a lot of us did. We wrote emails, texts, and made phone calls. 2, the 3 of you wrote a resolution basically stating that you don't intend to do anything more than implement these lackluster election laws. And 3, you bought a sorting machine, which doesn't really do anything to secure our elections. So by and large, our elections are no more safe or transparent than they were in 2020. And your solution is to wait and see what happens. Although I'm not even sure how you could measure whether or not these new laws were successful at securing our elections. To me, these laws are meant to pacify and lull us into a false sense of security. J. Reuben Clark, Undersecretary to Calvin Coolidge, said, "There's been no more fight in us than there is in a bunch of sheep, and we have been much like sheep. Freedom was never brought to a people on a silver platter, nor maintained with whisk brooms or lavender sprays. These new election laws, the efforts you have or haven't made, are nothing more than whisk brooms and lavender sprays." Commissioner Snow has often said it doesn't matter what path we take as long as the destination is election integrity. My response is this: I've said it before. This was meant to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. It was meant to operate from the bottom up. Anytime you take a power away from the people, the further removed that power is, the more corruptible it becomes. The people should have control over their very most basic right of voting. This is not a new concept. We were in charge of our elections and the counting of ballots for 200 years. The new concept is handing it over to machines that we are not the masters of. The only road to true secure elections is returning the power to the people where it rightfully belongs, and you do have the right to choose to hand count. I implore you to listen, to act boldly, to act now. If not now, when? If not us, who? Thank you.
Thank you, Shalane. I don't see April Pinkston here, otherwise detained, so we'll go to Julie Baling. Julie, also not here, okay. David Johnson.
How you doing, commissioners? The First Amendment is the cornerstone of this country and the Constitution. Our forefathers knew the importance of free speech. That's why they made this the First Amendment, and I'm sure they chose the words in it very carefully and with great thought. They didn't want any confusion or misunderstandings with the wording with something as important as this. But for some reason, our commissioners and certain city council members have chosen to ignore or interpret it in their own way. I bring a copy of it to all of the meetings I attend just in case they want to refresh their memories of it. Adam and Victor have asked me why I bring it, because they feel they are doing everything against aren't doing anything against the First Amendment. I have tried to show them that they are wrong, but they don't see a problem with their actions, I point out. Many of our group have been labeled as conspiracy theorists, bullies, rude, intimidating, scary, liars, and my favorite, employees of George Soros, for trying to exercise our right of free speech and for telling the truth. We bring in experts in election integrity, and they are labeled as crazy, insane, conspiracy theorists, and are accused of making up numbers or manipulating the numbers to fit their narrative. But when we ask the accusers to show us proof of what they are claiming, crickets. This reminds me of a meme. History shows us that the people who end up changing the world are always nuts until they're right, and then they're geniuses. Just look at what happened with COVID-19. The ones that refused to get the vax were labeled selfish and anti-vaxxers and belittled for not trusting the science. Now we look like geniuses. I have always treated all the commissioners with respect and been the first to throw out an olive branch when I felt they were upset. In fact, at the last meeting, I tried to thank them on the record for allowing people to go over their 2 minutes time limit. But Adam ignored my efforts to get him to allow me to speak before he closed the meeting. I still went up to him and thanked him in person for allowing the speakers to run over, and I pointed out how it wasn't that difficult, to which he replied, "Not this time. No thank you, or I appreciate that." It appears to me the commissioners are letting their pride make their decisions and preventing them from admitting they have done anything wrong. Adam is using a partial use of a scripture as a threat on his life and his family's life, which is wrong, and he knows it. But it lets him deflect everything else so he doesn't have to deal with our concerns. You have said you want the same things we want and that you are willing to listen to us, but you won't listen to us on record, and we have let you know in no uncertain terms that we want to get rid of the voting machines and mail-in ballots. Plus, you spent another $250,000 on another machine when we asked you not to. You say a lot, but your actions don't match what you say. This is all. Thanks for allowing me to use my First Amendment rights that the Constitution gives me.
Thank you, David. Gene Garotti.
Thank you, commissioners. Good evening. I gotta say, a lot of times these comments can get kind of negative. I want you to know that I think you guys do a great job. I sit in an elected position myself, and I think Mark Twain described it best when he said, "A man who picks up a cat by the tail learns something he can learn in no other way." So I would say those who challenge it, I'd encourage them to run for office and find out how much fun it is to relinquish time, family, and hobbies for the public good. So I've put on to talk a little bit about local food supply tonight. I work in an industry as a custom exempt butcher. I work in an industry that used to be pretty prevalent here in this county. At this time, there are now only 2 custom exempt butchers in the county, and we are buried with work because the desire for homegrown foods increases every day, especially since COVID. I think if COVID taught us anything, it was that we have a very fragile food supply nationally. And being able to produce those things in this county has become paramount. We don't talk about it. We talk about water a lot, but food is just as important. With the influx of so many people coming into the county, we're seeing agricultural land shrink, obviously, because the price is right when a farmer wants to make a little money. I see on the agenda Sherry Staley's hopefully here and following me, and she's come up with some fantastic ways to work around these changes that we're experiencing. As for my part, I would ask the commission to look at ways where we can increase and promote the attention on local food supplies and getting those things that the legislature has now provided us implemented here in our county to be able to maybe increase awareness, and I wouldn't mind having some of the load taken off of me. With that, I'll relinquish my time, and thank you again for your service.
Thank you. I do see her in the back, I think. Yep, Sherry Staley. That's probably music to your ears right there, Sherry. Local food, farming.
I too want to thank you for the opportunity to be here and for all that you do for our county. And it is a thankless job, and it happens, and I appreciate people that throw their hats in the ring. So I'm a 5th generation farmer located out in what once was Washington Fields as we knew it. And I'm also the Washington County Farm Bureau president. And I'm here just as a voice for agriculture. What a great week to kick off National Farmers Market Week. And we have a great farmers market. In fact, we have several great farmers markets in our county. And I think a lot about, we all see things on Facebook, unfortunately, but how people have talked about, like, there's not vegetables, there's not this, it's just a craft thing, it's just that. And, I often think about how many of these critics in the crowd have actually gone out and tried to grow food, especially here in southern Utah, which we did. We were known as the vegetable community at one time. But ways that we can support farmers markets is to support them. I don't know if you all know this, but our farmers market here in Washington County is one of the best in the state of Utah. We're recognized for that, and I think that is awesome. But support local farmers. I'll put a shameless plug. We sell local beef, and we have for generations, but we sold commercially, and now we're local. If you're concerned about how a farmer waters or what they're growing or what they contribute to our community, ask them. We see a lot of stuff, and it's not always true. So I say communicate, let a farmer be your friend. All of our communities started out based in agriculture. Dixie began with agriculture. So we need to keep that open space. It's crucial for our community, for food security, and it's for our future too. I hate to think, and this gentleman brought up, when COVID hit, everybody was in a panic. We didn't have a lot of food. And so we're going to see farming in different ways. Staley Farm's different. We do agritourism, and that's a whole other topic. But it's something that keeps us in agriculture, because if we weren't able to do that, we would be more homes. And we don't want to be more homes. We want to still be a farm. And I'm just going to leave with this, that I hope that we can stay true to our roots of who we are and how we're founded. Agriculture is the heartbeat of every community. I'm a true believer that every community needs a church, needs a grocery store, needs a doctor, and it needs a farm. Thank you.
Thank you. She didn't mention the lawyers, did she?
No,
she's no lawyers.
Let's have her back up.
Heath Hansen.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. So I'm here in my capacity as Regional Tourism Regulatory Affairs Director for the county. Thanks, Adam, for that title. Just wanted to provide some updates on Zion National Park. So if you have been to Zion National Park recently, especially if you tried to go over one of the recent holiday weekends, you probably met some pretty heavy traffic in Springdale, may have experienced some pretty heavy crowding in Zion National Park. Ever since COVID, the visitation to the park has kind of exploded. Had about 5 million visitors in 2021. And so the park, they've been engaging in a process known as a visitor use management planning process, basically trying to figure out how they can more effectively and efficiently deal with crowding in the park and immediately outside the park. And for the most part, we would support those efforts, I think. It's also very important to realize how important the park is in our local economy here in Washington County. The economic impact is over $1 billion annually. And so anything that the park does to affect visitation could have a significant impact on our economic well-being here in the county. And so I know the county and the state of Utah have been very anxiously engaged in working with the park as they've gone through this visitor use management planning process. Been trying to help the park get some funding for a traffic study to figure out how to more efficiently move visitors from the south entrance to the east side. Trying to help them with some resources to extend the trail up Zion Canyon and also the sewer line up Zion Canyon. So it's important that the county and the state continue those efforts. And also, we don't know the exact timeline that the park is moving on this plan, but we do anticipate that in the coming weeks or months, the park will be releasing their proposal to the public. And so I just encourage residents of Washington County to be cognizant of what that proposal looks like, and also to provide substantive comments on how that plan may affect you as a citizen, your business, just so the park is hearing loudly and clearly from Washington County that they're not doing anything that would upend our economy here in the county.
Thank you, Heath.
Thank you.
Finally, John Freeman.
Good afternoon.
Hi, John. Hi, John.
I'm John Freeman. I was a member of the Shooting Sports Park Board until it was dissolved, and I was chosen to come to speak to you about getting it going again. There are some issues down at the park that the venues want to address, and that has to be addressed through the commissioners. So what I'm suggesting is that we have a board member put on the advisory board that will be a liaison between the board and the commissioners. So anything that has to come up to the commissioners will come up through that liaison. Hopefully there'll be someone in the commissioner's office that we can speak to directly, and a lot of things can be handled, right then and there. The park board would still like to meet every 30 days or whenever they want to meet, once a month, and probably at the park. But we could meet here if the commissioners wanted to come in and have things to say, or just to see who's there and what's going on. The park liaison person would be a member of the board, but non-voting. So there's a person that's going to be there. That way they can be there. There'll be no closed session to eliminate that person. And hopefully it would be an active shooter, but not a member of a board or a member of a park board or the venue board. Again, there are some issues that came up. One was the venue agreements. We haven't seen anything on that, and I believe if we sit down with the venue operators, we can resolve that probably rather quickly. I know it's hard for one side just to write something up without knowing the full story. And I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, John.
In one of my 2 minutes.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Thank you, John. Just wanted to let the public know that meetings are rebroadcast daily on TDS cable channels 22 and 108 at 10, 2, and 5:30, and they're also available on demand at youtube.com/community education channel. And with that, we'll stand adjourned.